This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley here with Matt Williamson and Max Starks. We are live at the Breakers Hotel here in beautiful Palm Beach, Florida, where the league meetings are taking place. Heard from Mike Tomlin yesterday, the Steelers head coach, again part of the AFC breakfast this morning with all the coaches from all the AFC teams jammed into one little tiny room.
Yeah.
And then heard
no
from,
air conditioning I heard this morning.
Yeah, it was broken down. It's back
Yep.
up now. And then, we heard from Omar Khan right around noon as well. So lots of people talking. A few of them are saying.
Few of them know.
Yeah, a few of them know.
Yeah.
Where the quarterback is. Yeah.
So is it just safe to say that Aaron Rodgers is going to be the Steelers quarterback at this point? I mean, do you come to Pittsburgh on a Friday and spend the day, or do you go out and spend his time with DK Metcalf? I mean, I know we're jumping ahead here, but why else would any human being ever do these things?
I mean, he is a free agent, so technically he doesn't have a team.
He doesn't have anything to do.
So
Right.
maybe he's looking for somebody and just happened to be,
Walking down the
somewhere
street.
in
You
LA.
look like you could be a receiver.
Hey, I got this football.
Yeah.
You got cleats on too? Hey,
It just
there's
so
a
happens,
field
right.
over here. You know what? Let's just see how it feels. Let's just throw a feeler out there.
Just so happens they were in L.A. together, you know?
Just so happens.
Yeah. I mean, Aaron's from Cali, right? But
Yes.
he's from Northern California, though.
Yeah, he's from the San Francisco area. DK is actually from the Memphis area.
Yeah, but
Don't know where he lives in the off season.
yeah, but where did he play college ball? Did he play college ball?
Mississippi.
Mississippi, yeah. So at UCLA?
From Memphis to Mississippi to Seattle and somehow found his way to L.A.
At the same
Maybe
time
just
as
a
Aaron
coincidence.
Rodgers.
Right.
Just so happened to both show up, and it was like a pickup game. Pickup game of
exactly.
hoops.
Whoever shows up wants to play.
Dude
right.
shows up with his basketball. Hey, you want to play a little one-on-one?
I saw that movie happen once in the early 90s. Somebody couldn't jump, apparently. hey, I'll take you, random guy.
Yeah, that was at Muscle Beach, though.
Yeah, that was at Muscle Beach, a little bit further down.
So they got together. They threw together. And all you have to do is start. I'm not saying anything is done at this point.
Sure. Nothing
because
is.
nothing is done until the name is signed.
And it actually gets to New York.
Yes.
In the little fax machine that we don't know why there's still a fax machine
Is
in
there
New York.
still
in
a
the
fax
21st
machine?
That's what they always say. It's a
I know.
fax. I'm like, it's an email.
Yeah.
If that, a scanned image. I don't
Yeah,
know.
who has a
Can't
fax
be a
machine
fax.
at this
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how do you couldn't even get it fixed at this point.
No, who's going to fix it?
Yeah, those guys are all gone.
Yeah, all those millennials have retired.
Yeah.
My tenure at Pitt, we had a fax machine. On signing day, you'd hover around it like a bonfire, hoping things came through, and half the time they wouldn't, and it was like a total mess.
Well, and that's what I did. When I signed my commitment
Yeah.
papers, I had to fax them to University of Florida.
They go to the school because they had a fax machine.
yeah,
and,
they had a
right.
central fax somewhere. Yeah,
So we know Aaron Rodgers. Mike Tomlin said this yesterday. Hey, yes, we did, in fact, host Aaron Rodgers.
had a great conversation.
Two Fridays ago.
Mm-hmm.
This morning he says he's been in constant contact with Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson, a few days after Aaron Rodgers visits the Steelers, decides, you know what? I'm not going to wait on the Steelers anymore. I'm going to go to New York. I'm going to accept their offer.
Yep.
And now DK
Which
Metcalf.
was like 2 hours after Ward's pro day at Miami.
Yeah.
And, you know, all these. I mean, the timeline's not real hard to
Just
figure
start
out.
putting
Right.
everything. The puzzle is there.
It is.
You just need to put the pieces together on the board.
Yeah, it's like when you see those kids that do the puzzles upside down. They're just matching the shapes, and then you look underneath the glass. It's actually the full picture. We're seeing the puzzle with just the back side of it.
Yeah.
But it's all together.
It's there. The pieces are all
Nobody's
there.
looked under the table yet.
I think we can
Yeah.
deduce what's happening.
Yeah.
There'd be a whole lot of wasted time otherwise.
Yes, and we would have wasted a lot of hours talking about this if
Yes.
it wasn't going to be.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So, the timeline is the timeline. I know everybody wants everything now. That's just the society that we live in. Aaron Rodgers will decide when Aaron Rodgers wants to actually put name or pen to paper.
Yeah.
And whenever that happens, I feel like the Steelers, and I don't know this for certain, but I feel like based on what we know and how these puzzle pieces have all come together.
And the transactions they've made.
We've seen that I think they believe it's going to be Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. They've lined it up.
It sure seems like they're pretty comfortable with the whole situation.
Even if you then start looking at Mike Tomlin and Omar Khan both talked about it, and Tomlin stressed it again this morning. Hey, we were just at three colleges last week that have quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But it was Notre Dame, Ohio State, and Alabama.
Texas.
I'm sorry.
Texas,
Yeah. They have other guys, too.
Yeah. Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, and I can't remember the running kid,
Riley Leonard.
Yeah, Riley Leonard.
None of whom are first-round guys.
No.
So
all day 2-3.
Yeah, somewhere in that day 2, maybe round 4 type guys.
Early day 3, yeah.
And those universities have other players besides the quarterbacks, too.
They do, but,
if you didn't go to Ohio State's pro day, you're doing something wrong.
He specifically mentioned, though, that they were at those pro days because they have quarterbacks who are draft eligible.
Mm-hmm. We knew the Milroe thing, too, who's also not going in the first round.
You know? Definitely not going in the first round.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we emphasize that.
Yeah, Colin Cowherd.
Yeah.
You see that Colin Cowherd had the Steelers drafting Jalen Milroe in the first round?
I was
Come on, man.
I was like, dude.
Tell me you don't know anything without telling me you don't know anything.
Yeah.
I heard my favorite Jalen Milroe comparison yesterday. Happy Gilmore. Great off the tee. Gets near the hole, forget about it. I mean, he's just all over the place. The layups are right.
He needs the hockey putter.
right. Great off the tee, though. And does some spectacular stuff. But gets near the green, it's not so great.
It's like Anthony Richardson. You know, he's great arm, great talent.
Yeah.
Looks the part.
Needs to
Looks
develop.
the part, but needs time to develop.
No,
that's not a first-round pick.
Yeah.
That is, well, the Colts thought so, and are now being proven wrong about that.
And now they have another first-round pick in there in Daniel
Jones. That's what that had. So the people who are saying that the Steelers don't have a plan, there is a plan in place. I tweeted out all the stuff that was said this morning, and immediately on social media, I've got 400 replies on there. Steelers are showing they have no plan. So you expect the Steelers to come to this event and say, here's our plan. This is what we're going to do at quarterback.
Yeah. Hey, you wanted to know. We've been waiting to tell you.
Can't wait.
Because not only do we want to let you guys know, we want you guys to let the entire rest of the NFL know exactly what our plan is.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty clear what their plan is.
Yes.
And
all you have to do
happens to be throwing to your receiver you just traded for.
Teams tell you say it all the time, Matt. Teams tell you what their intentions are by the moves that they make.
Yep. That's the one time they can't lie to you. I mean, draft day is an open book. You just have to read the tea leaves and figure it out. You know, free agency, they don't throw money around for fun.
No.
I know
we talked about what their maximum team spend needs to be, and the Patriots might be doing that just to
get there, yeah.
But the Steelers aren't in that same category. There's a difference between those two.
And what you don't want to happen, Browns owner Jimmy Haslam talked this morning, and he was asked about the Deshaun Watson situation, and he said, look, we took a big swing and we missed. We took a big swing and missed with Deshaun. We thought we had the quarterback. We didn't, and we gave up a lot of draft picks to get him. So we've got to dig ourselves out of that hole.
At least there's some recognizing your faults. You know what I mean?
Finally. 3 years later.
3 years later.
They've continually kicked the can down the road with that.
And they still do it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like an $80 million cap hit next year.
The Steelers have not done that. Even if they sign Aaron Rodgers, you're just signing Aaron Rodgers. Honestly, if you look at what the Steelers have put into the quarterback position at this point in the post-Ben Roethlisberger era, they used a first-round draft pick on Kenny Pickett. They traded a sixth-round draft pick last year. They got a pick back for Kenny Pickett. What was it, a 4 or 5?
And they swapped some late stuff, too. And, you got a little something
and
back.
And they're also going to get compensatory picks now for Justin Fields and Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm. Both of them they paid nothing last year. Gave very little.
These are not massive. These are swings, but they're not the Happy Gilmore swings.
No
I'm not standing up there and swinging out of my shoes.
Bunts. These are bunts at best.
These are trying to
sacrifice bunts. That's about it.
Until you get into the situation, which you will be in next year. And Khan talked about that this morning, with all the compensatory picks that they've acquired.
Now you have swings.
Now you can take that big swing if you so choose.
And I think that's the time to do it. I mean, it wouldn't break my heart if they used a mid-round pick on a quarterback. We know that 4 are going to be at camp. If Rodgers is in tow, that makes 3. one young guy wouldn't break my heart. Maybe you find the next Dak Prescott in the 5th round or whatever. You probably won't. You might find the next Mason Rudolph that's a long-time backup for you or around the league. Fine. If they don't draft one this year, I'm not going to cry about it either. And I hate the argument of, well, next year's going to be a better quarterback class. You and I talk about this all the time, Dale. It probably will be because this one isn't great, but I'm not banking on that. It's more my timeline of when I'm financially, draft pick-wise, line of scrimmage-wise, ready to take the big swing. You know, if there's a guy you love, next year you have all these extra picks. You could trade the following first-round pick, something they don't usually do, but then you take your swing. I'm all for that.
You could Ricky Williams a damn draft.
Yeah.
Say, hey, we're going to have 11 picks. We'll give you all 11 of them to move up.
Yep. And next year's first.
10
whatever.
spots.
Yeah.
You know, to go get the quarterback, if that's the one that you have chosen and looked like, okay, this is the guy.
And that's still not as big a swing as Watson, which was ruined 3 draft classes and your salary cap.
Yeah.
You know.
Other than that, it was perfect.
Right.
Yeah. But and also I think you also have to think about this. When we drafted Ben in the class that I was in, everything else was in place.
It was all there.
Everything's not all in place. This is the year to get the rest of your ducks in a row.
100%.
Right? Like you said, get the line of scrimmage taken care of.
Yep. That's my whole goal for this offseason.
We handled the offensive side of the ball the last 2 years. Now let's turn our attention to the defensive side of the ball.
The nest is built.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now you take the egg, and you put the egg in there, and Mama Hen sits on it and hatches, and maybe it grows into a franchise quarterback.
You make the best nest possible. But that's what's cool about this offseason is I could definitely paint a picture where Rodgers is your opening day starter, and your offense is better than last year's. Your quarterback play is better than last year's. DK Metcalf's in the fold. It's year 2 of the Arthur Smith system. The zone running game's going better. The ball carriers, the linemen are all on the same page. The defense is still playing well, and you infused it with young D linemen, which they'd be crazy not to in this draft.
Yeah.
That's a nice nest. And you have so much cap space a year from now. You have so many draft picks a year from now. And you're going to have Rudolph. I don't know if you'll have Rodgers or not. But a first-round pick and Rudolph, who you know is already set, that's the nest.
And whatever quarterback you happen to take this year in the 4th or 5th round that you can also – all right, we got 3 guys now. They're going to be here.
QB. We got our other one. Hey, now
and you might win games this year. It's not like usually building the nest
I don't think you might win games this year.
Right.
You've won 10 games in each of the last 2 seasons.
And you've been a playoff team.
You've been a playoff team.
Right.
People are acting like this roster is completely devoid of talent.
They act like we're the Jets.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We have not been the Jets. We have not been the Panthers. We have not been those teams that have literally had to rebuild.
Yep.
We've been retooling, and we've still maintained a modicum of success that's above 500.
Yeah. And this year could be a little better than that. Maybe you do start winning playoff games, and then you add the young guy to the mix. That's how you build it, you know?
Absolutely.
And I think it's very clear. I mean,
absolutely.
People say that they don't – a couple things make me crazy. They have no plan. You just think they just throw darts and – I mean, what do you think they do behind the scenes? And then the other thing that makes me insane, too, is – well, if they use a first-round pick on a quarterback, this team has no ability to develop one. I'm like, dude, I was born in 73, and I'm not even going to include Bradshaw. Are you going to blame him for Mark Malone and Pickett? Well, they developed Ben. There's been 3 first-round picks in 50 years, and 2 of them are going to the Hall of Fame if we go back to 55 years.
Yeah.
There's been one instance in the last decade. You're 0 for 1. You're not 0 for 100. You're not the Browns.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have a graveyard of quarterbacks in somebody's yard here.
No.
We actually have a nice carousel of quarterbacks that have gotten us to the playoffs.
Right.
That's the different way. This is not the list of Browns quarterbacks since 1999, and 2 of them have gotten the team into the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you look at the Steelers starters over the last, since Ben retired. Yeah, there's a number of different starters there. But they've also made the playoffs in those years.
Yeah, and they win games.
Let's get to a break. He is Matt Williamson. That's Max Starks. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here from West Palm. We're in Palm Beach.
Yeah, we are in Palm Beach.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you about that. Okay.
West is across the bridge
yes,
here. We're
inland.
in Palm Beach.
We're staying in West Palm Beach, but we're live in Palm Beach.
Yeah, this is the only time we're allowed into Palm Beach.
Yes, daylight hours.
We're visitors
when in doubt,
here.
pinky out.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we got a special edition of The Drive here. We're going to go 3 hours, and it'll be lots of fun. We'll continue to talk about everything that we're learning down here. We'll be back with more right after this. Welcome back. I am Dale Lolley here with Max Starks and Matt Williamson here on the Steelers Audio Network. This is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio, and we are live here in Palm Beach, Florida, not West Palm Beach. We're staying in West Palm Beach. We are in Palm Beach here at the Breakers, beautiful hotel here where the league has their meetings every few years. And another one happening this weekend, and not a lot of rule change stuff on the docket.
Yeah, a little slow. Yeah.
A little slow. Mike Tomlin was asked this morning what his feelings are on the tush push, and he said that the first time he saw it, he's like, that can't be legal, because he's looked at it, he says, you're not allowed to do that on a field goal attempt. You can't vault. You can't use another player to get into the backfield, because there's a danger situation there. And he was then asked as a follow-up, he said, well, what are your feelings about the play? Or is this because he said, if it becomes a situation where, player health becomes a concern, then I'm going to be, probably against it. He said, but at this point, I found this interesting. He said there's been about 170 tush pushes in the NFL.
Okay.
Since teams started
Not
doing
quarterback
that.
sneaks. We're talking about
pure tush pushes.
Right.
He said, and I don't know that we can look at that realistically and say this play is safe or this play is unsafe based on 170 plays. He said when we're talking about other plays that are safe or unsafe, he's like, we have like 40,000 plays to look at.
Yeah. Hip drops and horse collars and all that type of thing. And that's something I've been harping on ever since this tush push became a big deal, was I'm shocked that more people haven't gotten hurt, just because I wouldn't want to get pushed from behind and lose control of my body if I'm that ball control guy. And I hope they don't, but I also think they might be coming,
Yeah, well, I think if more teams do adopt it, I think you could see it.
Yeah.
Like you said, it is a small sample size, and like you said, it's one team that really does it effectively.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, everybody else.
Other teams play at doing it, and some of them don't even use their quarterback.
No, they're like,
we're not
putting that guy in.
You're too valuable. We're going to use a tight end to do that.
Yeah, listen in the training dummy, to go in for this.
But if it never gets
the stunt man.
Yeah,
the stunt
exactly.
man comes in to run that play.
Can we get our stunt QB in here? Stunt QB, come on.
But if there's no changes to the rules in the next 24 hours or so, you're going to have to start figuring out how to defend it. And, hey, should we be a team that starts to employ it too, because it works?
Yeah.
Well, and that's one thing he said. He said, I don't want to see teams who come up with something that is inventive necessarily penalized.
Sure.
Unless it's a safety issue.
Yeah.
He said you tip your cap to him. Hey, you guys thought of that. Good for you.
They'll figure out a way to stop it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if we were Eagles Nation Radio, it would be like, well, try to stop it.
Well, and the thing is, keep us out of 4th and 1s. How about
or
that?
Third and one, or any one.
It's like, put us in 2+ yard situations or greater, and then we'll stop using it. Force us out of using it versus giving us the opportunity.
It's really not all that different in terms of what you're doing stylistically as the teams who go for it every time on 4th down.
Yeah,
we're going to go on 4th. If it's 4th and 3, we're
Dan
going.
Campbell, right?
Yeah,
the Lions.
Washington
did it a lot, and I'm not a guy who necessarily agrees with that tact. Like, I'm not going for 4th downs on my own damn side of the field.
No,
that's putting your defense at risk.
Yeah,
needlessly.
Yeah. Now, if you're at midfield, okay, then we could talk about it. But I mean, before that, I'm not that guy that's just like just.
I can
all
remember
the way to the wall.
Brandon Staley did it in the game that they needed to win. They're playing the Raiders. The Chargers are playing the Raiders, and he went for it at like his own 20 in the first drive of the second half and didn't get it. And now you're like, no, that's just dumb football.
Yeah, that's not smart at all.
That's not smart.
But the key to me, the next level of thinking it through, though, is being the play caller on 2nd and 3rd down.
Right, you got to set yourself up for that.
If I know that we're going for it on 4th and it's 3rd and 6, and I get nickel or dime, well, that's a rundown for me, because
I know I'm going for it.
I know I'm going for it, or I know I have the tush push in my back pocket. If Barkley can get me 4, I'm going to get the first down. Or if it's 3rd and 2, I might throw a bomb to A.J. Brown as opposed to tush pushing it, because I'll just do it next time. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, knowing that you're going to go for it. Washington, Detroit. Washington's really interesting to me, though, because they went for it way more than anybody else and were way more successful than anybody else, which to me just screams fluke. like coming back to the mean next year. Like I think they were like 80% or something insane on fourth downs.
Well, Jaden Daniels,
he's going to be better at it than most, but they're not going to make 80% of their fourth down attempts.
But you're also now going to have – you had no real tape. You didn't have the 170 plays that Tomlin talked about of Daniels running. What do they do on fourth down? Well, now we've got 60 examples of what they do on fourth down. All right, so now we're going to start taking that stuff away from him. And
that
it's not going to be successful.
That O-line's not the Eagles. It's not the Hogs. I mean, it's fine. They just traded for Tunsil. But, I mean, that can't be your bread and butter. They kind of got away with that, in my opinion.
Well, it was a high rate of success, I mean, because obviously former Steeler Darnell Stapleton's their O-line coach, right?
Oh, nice.
For Washington. So, I mean, Darnell and him and I had talked about it, at length, like, hey, I'm just trying to find the things that these guys are good at and just make sure that we continually keep that in the game plan. I mean, that was the idea of it. So when you're talking about getting away with it, it's like, let's get away with what we know we can do. Let's rep it to all high hell like we used to do.
Be better at it than everybody else.
Like
right.
Russ Grimm used to do with us in our offensive line. Like, we rep double more than anybody else in the league. I will put that against anybody from 2004 to 2006. Nobody practiced double against more different odd fronts than we did, so that when we got to 4-minute football, we could run the same exact play in the same formation against any defense threw at us, and we'd be successful. You could not stop it.
It goes back to Vince Lombardi. We're going to run the power sweep better than anybody on the planet that ever has. We're rep it to death,
Yeah.
And it's coming, and you still can't stop it.
Can't stop it.
And Jaden Daniels was a trump card. Not every team can do that. Not every team has that guy. But
I do think there's an element of taking people by surprise. It's a first-year coach, a first-year quarterback, a first-year coordinator, and no one's going to hit 80% on fourth downs because they're not all fourth and inches either.
No. That's the other thing. So I understand the idea, and every time I see somebody, one of these teams doing it, I'm like, I don't know if I'd go in that situation. You're a dinosaur. This is the way football is played now. I'm like, that could be the way losing football is played now because you're not going to get them all. And you're doing that deep in your own territory. You're just asking to get beat. Yeah, you're just asking for it.
Yeah, you're asking for an injury to happen, in those situations, right? Because not only if you are in a backed up situation, you are going for a fourth down, but then you do something that is that scrum style play. Listen, bad things can happen.
That stuff worries me.
Or you could lose a lineman. Doesn't necessarily have to be the quarterback. We don't have to talk about him. But if you lose your center.
Yeah,
you lose one of your Pro Bowl level guards or high drafted guards, and you don't have anybody on the bench. That could be just as detrimental.
That's the thing we don't know. So, Philadelphia center and their left guard,
Landon Dickerson,
were both banged up in the playoffs. Was that because it wasn't specifically on a tush-push play, but did running 35 tush-push plays over the course of the season,
cumulative effect,
the cumulative effect of that, affect his back, affect his ankle, the things that were wrong with them? We don't know that.
Yeah.
They might know that.
They definitely have to know that.
Yeah. Like, okay, maybe we ran too many tush pushes.
Yeah. Maybe we should have just ran a little veer. Maybe this time.
We got Saquon Barkley. He might be able to get us.
We do have thunder quads in the backfield.
I do think
two of them.
Yeah. I do think it's a massive advantage though for the offensive play caller. Just on early downs.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, to know that I have 4 downs to play with and not 3. Not that I'm going to be successful every time on fourth down. And I'm not saying go for it on your own 20 and all these things. But the fact that I know that as a play caller, man, I can take shots on 3rd and 1 every time.
Whatever you want, Jalen.
Yeah, whatever looks good.
What's going to be interesting, guys,
be in the best play.
With Ben Johnson now taking over as the head coach in Chicago, we may get an idea here whether it was Ben Johnson who was calling all the fourth down stuff and maybe pushing for the Lions to do that, or whether it was Matt Campbell who was the guy pushing to.
I'm betting it's Campbell. I'm just curious. I mean, just Campbell's personality is aggressive.
And he is a former offensive player.
Right.
Yeah.
So. Blocking tight
end. But I don't know that, like, is
But
Ben,
I wonder if Johnson will take that
is Ben Johnson
and run with it.
Yeah, going to take that and run with it in Chicago, or is he going to look at this and go, there were some situations that didn't work out.
I wish we
I'm
wouldn't
the
have
play caller in that.
We
and
shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't my call.
Like somebody in that, and it probably wasn't Campbell, it probably was Johnson, designed a play where you had your best offensive lineman throwing a pass.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's kind of Chiefs-esque, ring around the rosy and that kind of stuff. Right. It's getting a little
A little too crazy.
A little aggressive, yeah.
Like when the only sack that your offensive line gave up in a particular game was your right tackle getting sacked on a pass. Maybe it got a little too cute.
Yeah, just a smidge.
But I don't think it's an accident at all that the Lions were built on offensive line.
Yeah.
And immediately Johnson goes from Detroit to Chicago and trades for a guard, a center, and a guard in the course of a week. And I don't care what it costs. I'm going to add Thuney. I'm going to add, I'm going to rebuild this thing. I don't know how aggressive he'll be, but he's going to be built on the line.
Exactly.
No doubt.
I mean, and thank goodness they didn't know that before Ben Johnson, because that's how we got Justin Fields. Right. And then Caleb Williams looked like, he looked like a whirling dervish back there the entire season. And it was running for his life. And they were like, well, this is so much better having Caleb Williams over Justin Fields. I say it looks exactly the same. And the result was exactly the same.
It really was. I mean, they won a couple of games early, and everybody's like, oh, so they're turning it around, and then proceeded to lose like their next 11 in a row.
Yeah, I watched Darnell Mooney walk straight off the field because I had the Cardinals-Bears game where he just walked off the field during the play when Caleb was scrambling.
No, it was
what was
DJ Moore.
DJ Moore, sorry. Yeah, sorry.
Right.
DM initials.
Yeah.
So many of them.
No, I saw that play as well. And so you wonder, is it so much of the time the offensive line takes the brunt of the criticism when a quarterback gets sacked a lot?
They do.
And it's not fair to the offensive lineman. That's a quarterback stat.
To me, this is a perfect example. Is if I'm taking over the Bears and my job is to get Caleb Williams right, to me the biggest problem with Caleb Williams is he invites sacks. He did it at USC, and it was easy to explain. Boy, the USC O-line's really bad. Is it that bad compared to it's not USC's usual standards, but it's easy to blame the line. Well, he's taking sacks at every level. So if I'm Johnson, I'm going to be like, well, I'm going to take that excuse away. I'm not going to be able to blame the O-line because now I have Thuney at left guard and I got a real center. And if he's still taking sacks, I either have to coach it out of him or find another quarterback.
Well, and I think the other thing that people don't want to look at for quarterbacks is maybe he can't read coverages.
Oh, right. There's always a reason why.
Yeah,
right.
I'm saying, and I'm going to tell you, I've called his games at USC, and I called his game when he was in Chicago. He cannot read coverage. And that's where you see the
processing
and the going around and trying to move things.
That extra quarter second that he takes is the one that gets him sacked.
Yeah, and that's in that moment, it's like, hey, and that's why he has to own those, because it's like, dude, until you sit down and study, which you claim you want to do, and show me that you know what base outside of base cover 2 looks like. If you can show me what 3 looks like, if you can show me what cut 3, if you can show me cloud coverage, and you know where to go with all those, I can't trust you.
Let me ask you about
this. I have some questions about Fields on that too.
Is that's something that Shedeur Sanders has held the football? It's over like 2.9 seconds at Colorado.
Yeah,
he invites a lot of sacks.
And his offensive line was really bad.
It is.
It is trash, but
he could get rid of the football a lot quicker.
Yeah, he could, and it's not just waiting for Travis Hunter to get open.
Yeah.
That was the other thing.
See, that's what's interesting to me about Shedeur is it's very clear that his O-linemen stink. Building an O-line at the college level isn't like getting Shedeur and Hunter to transfer. You can find some skill guys, you can turn things around, but you're not going to find linemen for a couple of years. Dion.
8 of them that you're going to need over the course of the season.
Like Georgia, and these teams that can get linemen.
Had a true freshman at left tackle.
Right. It was a terrible line.
Yeah.
I'll give Sanders that without question. But, boy, he takes a ton of sacks, and a really high percentage of their throws are bubbles and quick hitters to Hunter where the ball does come out super quick. But Sanders, I also think when you break down his game, one of his best things is processing and reading coverages and playing on time and rhythm until he doesn't. And then it's a mess.
Well, and I think that's the other thing is having a line that can hold up for – the goal is an offensive line. I want to be able to hold up from 2.5 to about 3.2 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Then that's my after that.
If it's 3.2,
you still got your quarterback still has the ball at 3.2 seconds. I'm turning around going, dude, what are you doing back there?
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think if you're, as a line, if you can get between that range, that's the range you want to be in. Every quarterback should be able to make a play.
So this isn't really encouraging to me from bring it back to the Steelers. If you look, NFL Next Gen has a stat of average time to pressure. And a pressure to me is a little vague, but over the course of the year, you have a pretty good idea. The two highest teams in the average time when they actually deemed it a pressure were Kansas City and Baltimore. That adds up. Those two quarterbacks are really hard to get pressure on. Their lines are good. Their schemes are good. The Steelers were third. To me, that says quarterback, not line.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're allowing 10 pressures a game, but they're late in the down over and over and over, I'll tell you what, it's not going to be on Rodgers. If anything, it'll be the opposite. It'll be end to Ben getting it out too quick. But it won't be on Rodgers in terms of time to pressure.
Yeah.
This line is better in protection than people think.
Yeah, and the reason why they don't like it is because they don't see the points, right?
Right. No, right.
But it's like that's
they
not
just
the
see the
offensive line's
results.
fault. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you see results. You read the stat sheet, it doesn't look great.
They see the symptoms of the disease. They don't see how the disease started. Right.
Exactly. And so that's where you have to be like, okay, this group isn't as bad. And that's what and that's why I think it's perfect. When you're thinking about Aaron Rodgers coming here, it's like you're getting the third best blocking, offensive line group on pass protection.
Yeah.
That's a bonus.
Yeah.
And then, like you said, you add in a competent run game, and you have a lot of weapons at your disposal.
Yeah, and he's a microcomputer back there with getting the ball out.
Yeah.
And actually, it's one thing that worries me is advanced stage, doesn't want to get hit, might put it out too quick.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be back there patting the ball, running around. It's coming out.
No. And running around.
There's going to be a lot
right.
less quarterback hits than there were in last year, assuming Rodgers is a quarterback.
Let's get to another break. He is Matt Williamson. That's Max Starks. I'm Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive, this special edition of The Drive from Palm Beach, Florida, here where the league meetings are taking place. We'll be back with more.
I hope it warms up soon.
Oh, yeah.
It's way too chilly out
here. I hope it's snowing in Pittsburgh right now.
Where's my sweater?
We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley here with Max Starks and Matt Williamson. We are in not West Palm. I keep saying West Palm Beach.
Palm Beach County.
Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
Island.
Yeah.
That's where we're at here. Palm Beach.
Part of the country.
Florida. And we are in the right place. One of our co-workers, but another reporter flew into Fort Lauderdale yesterday, put his hotel into his phone, and ended up in Miami instead of ending up in West Palm Beach.
I don't know if that's accidental. I don't know if that's
pretty hard to do.
Yeah.
If you know the
the north-south.
He knew where he wanted to go. And his GPS knew, too. Work had other ideas.
Yes. So this morning as well, looking at some of the stuff in the division here, John Harbaugh was asked about the situation with Lamar Jackson's contract and said, hey, we've talked about that internally, what it would look like to give Lamar an extension. So if you're talking about giving Lamar an extension internally, it's probably going to happen and happen soon. And he said he'll probably end up being the highest paid player in the league.
Adds up.
For about 5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Until somebody else comes along and says they want a contract soon. Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
So when Patrick Mahomes signed his deal, it was a 10-year, what was it, 10 years?
$500,000? $500,000? Yeah, $500 million.
It was like 500, somewhere in that range. He's now underpaid.
Vastly.
Which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
Vastly. So there's a lot to unpack here. In a way, Mahomes is doing what Brady did back in the day. That I will take less for the team. I will be very malleable with my money. I could hold you guys' feet to the fire, but I'm not going to. Giselle also factored in on that. Mahomes' deal. I mean, they're making money off the field, too, clearly. Yeah. And neither one's hurting for bucks. That being said, they also have so much guaranteed money. I mean, Mahomes could fall down the steps and never play again, and he's still getting huge checks.
For life.
For life. For life. So there's a lot of security to the way he structured things. But as it stands now, he's ridiculously underpaid.
Yeah, he's outside of the top 10, isn't he?
No, I'm sure by now.
Yeah, I think
I mean, like Cousins went past him last year,
yeah.
Let alone some of these other dudes. I mean, no one in this free agent class did. But so back to Lamar, I assume what's happening with him is the exact same thing that just happened to Josh Allen. That Allen had a lot of years on his deal. I'm sure Lamar does too, because it was just, 2 years ago he was getting shopped and, letting the league do the contract for him. But we'll just keep you around for 10 years. We're now a partnership. You're not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. The salary cap can borrow from the bank of Josh Allen or Lamar. The Chiefs just did that to get under the cap 2 weeks ago with Mahomes. You're always going to make the team. You're never going to play for anybody else. We're a true partnership. It's not an employer-employee situation. And they don't have to pull up. They don't have to rework his contract right now, but it's useful because it gives you freedom.
Mahomes' deal right now is $450 million over 10 years, so $45 million a year, which at the time was a monster deal. It's now 14th.
14th,
right.
See? Exactly.
Among quarterbacks.
He's average. He's average quarterback.
Dak Prescott, $60 million a year. Oh. Joe Burrow, 55. Josh Allen, 55.
And those are new.
Jordan Love, 55.
That's
55. Tua Tagovailoa, 53-1. Jared Goff, $53 million. Justin Herbert, 52.5. Then you're looking at Lamar Jackson at 52. Jalen Hurts at 51. Kyler Murray at 46.1. And then Deshaun Watson, 46. Kirk Cousins, 45. And you finally get to Patrick Mahomes at 45.
It's all about timing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, if Mahomes if he wanted to be a jagoff, he just says, I'm not going to play for you guys again. I'm going to become a free agent. Never sends this deal.
It's not even being a jagoff.
Right,
It's like, I'm the 14th highest paid quarterback in the league, and I'm the best one.
Right.
Exactly. And how many Super Bowls have we gone to,
Yeah.
guys?
Every year, right.
Yeah, every year the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And won 2 of them?
This is the
But these
silliness
guys
that
in
goes
general,
on,
though.
though.
I mean, even Tua and Lawrence, they could have chose to hit the open market. Cousins is the only one on that list that actually saw free agency.
Yeah.
Imagine if Josh Allen was on hit free agency, he'd get 100.
Yeah, Joe Burrow, if he
Would get
free
100.
agency. Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't even be close. Lamar would get 100. Mahomes would get 120.
So there was a rumor that somebody made up apparently in their basement that the Cowboys were shopping Dak Prescott. And I was asked, hey, did you hear about this? The Steelers might be getting Dak Prescott. I'm like, no, they're not.
No, they're not.
No.
Because the Cowboys,
It's like the Lawrence rumor.
the Cowboys would take a $150 million hit
Yeah.
on their cap to move Dak Prescott right now.
Because they were going to sign Dion.
They can't trade him. He's untradeable.
Pretty much,
No.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
You
without,
couldn't field a team if you did that.
No, and you'd look like fools. Well,
You just gave
more
him
of
money.
fools.
You
Yeah.
just gave him money. That's why the quarterback stuff they're so difficult to trade. Geno Smith was tradable because his average salary is $25 million.
He was the lowest of the true starters.
Yeah.
I mean, he was at like 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's now the Purdy conversation. Because Purdy's going to get that Tua deal.
Yeah.
Or he's going to hit the open market, or you're going to trade him. That's a really hard decision. Should he be on this list? He's going to be, whether he hits the open market or gets traded or the Niners give it to him. It's just the going rate. I mean,
It's
it's not even worth fussing about. It's just the going rate.
Yes, where we're at.
It's where we're at, right?
Yeah, right now I'm just looking where he's at on this list in terms of the quarterback pay.
Well, Purdy's going to be at $1 million because he's.
Yeah, he's
Well,
always
I'm still
ahead.
trying to find.
He's
Dead
7th
last.
round. He's
a
7th round pick, Mr. Irrelevant.
Going into
rookie
last year of his
contract.
deal, yeah, he made $900,000 last year.
He's going to make $900,000 this year, but he's not the lowest paid guy because you've got Adrian Martinez,
Who's not starting?
That's who he's
Tyson
talking about.
Bagent,
Right.
Jack Plummer, not Jake,
Yeah.
Carter Bradley, Jason Bean, Emory Jones, Austin Reed, Keaton Slovis, Tanner Mordecai, Devin Leary, Chris Olodokon, and John Reese Plumlee, all making less money than Brock Purdy. The guy's
starting quarterback.
The guys ahead of him on the list, just ahead of him on the pay list here, you're looking at Sean Clifford, Sam Hartman, Malik Cunningham, Jake Browning, Jared Hall, Sam Howell, Tanner McKee, and that's why Brock Purdy is going to I would hold out for every single dollar I could get if I'm
Absolutely.
him.
Because he has anything in the bank.
He has
I
nothing
mean,
in the
yeah,
bank.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's not the Niners' fault. That's not his fault. He was a 7th-round pick, and this is the
He was
contract you
Mr.
get for
Irrelevant.
4 years.
Yeah,
right.
he was the very last.
It's
year.
the
He was.
Le'Veon Bell.
Right.
It's the Le'Veon Bell Max Starks argument. If you are not a first round pick and you get the franchise tag, yes, it looks like a lot of it's more money than you've ever made at any point in your career.
Yeah.
Probably years combined.
In the first
Right.
in your first 3 seasons combined. But there's no guarantees involved here.
There's no guarantees, and it's all in-season salary.
Yes.
So
Right, you get week to week.
So you go to California, you go to New York, you go to Chicago, you go everywhere. You pay taxes in all of those cities.
No one
and
thinks
you
of
get-
that.
Yeah, and you get dinged hard. Trust me, we played 2 times in California during my transition tag year, and I was crying because when I looked at the taxes that went to the state of California, a place that I did not spend any significant time in.
You were there for about 48 hours.
Yeah, if that. I want to say 36 hours. There was a 1 o'clock kick on that Raiders game.
And you worked for 3 hours.
Yeah, worked for 3 hours, and you watch seven figures go all the way over there of your salary. Like
Right.
what? And I'll never forget. Like they asked for the check, right? And, so you send in your tax check, on top of whatever they automatically took out of it. And I kept sending it, and they kept sending me back a bill with like $4.37.
Like, haven't you taken enough?
But then when you send the $4.37, oh well, it compounds daily. So now you owe us another 79 cents. Like, what? Are you kidding me? Do you not see how many zeros that just went over there?
You should put like a $5 bill in the mail. And be like, here, just keep the change.
Well, the second time they were like, we're just gonna, because they didn't give us the computation. I had to send them like $4 just so they give me a $2 rebate. Yeah, I was like, yay, $2
that's
back.
great.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. That's what you don't consider. That's why a signing bonus matters, because
Right.
that's only taxed one time.
Yeah.
In the place that you actually
Well,
reside
that doesn't go. That doesn't count.
it doesn't get split amongst all the coffers.
Right.
Which is why when guys restructure their deals, it works out 100 times better because you're
Absolutely.
not. Okay, I'm gonna take $1 million salary this year. Okay, but I'm still gonna pocket that other 18 that you just paid me in signing bonus, and that only gets taxed the one time in the state that you're in, not 16 times over the course of the season.
Well, this comes back to Lamar and Allen and these guys that are going to do it recently. Well, here's a giant check from the owner for $80 million or $100 million real dollars. You don't get taxed on all your weekly stuff. It doesn't kill our cap. We know you're not going anywhere. They know we're not going anywhere. Let's get married,
Yeah, exactly. Makes
Anyways.
life a lot easier.
Let's get to another break. He is Max Starks. That's Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to this special edition of The Drive, live from Palm Beach, Florida here, where we are at the Breakers Hotel. Sun is in the sky. The sky is very blue. There's a couple of clouds over there, but
Palm trees are swaying.
out over the ocean, it looks very nice.
Oh, it's beautiful. I just took a picture right before the show.
I took a walk out there. They get the nice little area there. You can and
benches. You can look at the ocean.
Stand and look at the ocean. There's boats out there floating by. Little lizards running around, jumping up and down at each other. It's interesting. Different. You don't see that in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, no, you're not going to see that. I mean, the groundhogs might wrestle a little bit.
But squirrels.
Yeah, squirrels every once in a while.
Yeah, not like the little lizards that are running everywhere. But we're going to get to a break. That's going to do it for hour number 1. We will be back with hour number 2 of our 3 hours here today from Palm Beach, Florida, right after this. And we are back. Welcome back to hour number 2 of this special edition of The Drive here in Palm Beach, Florida. I'm Dale Lolley here with Max Starks and Matt Williamson. And the league meeting's taking place here at the Breakers in Palm Beach. And, guys, we talked at the beginning of the show about the puzzle pieces coming together. And I continue to see the national mock drafts that come out that have the Steelers taking a first-round quarterback and not taking a defensive lineman. And I can't help but chuckle because if there's one hole on this roster, quarterback aside right now, but I think they have an idea of what's going to happen there, it's the defensive line.
Yes.
Larry Ogunjobi is no longer on this team. You've filled all the other starting spots with somebody.
And backups.
Except for
D-line.
You've signed some backup-type defensive linemen, but you haven't gotten that guy yet.
And that's where it's like ding, 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 ding. All the arrows point here, right? When you look at the maze and you get to the Steelers logo, even though we lost to Landon Roberts, right? But we drafted Peyton Wilson the year before. We signed Patrick Queen. Boom. Corner. Yes, we didn't retain Dante Jackson, but we went and signed Darius Slay. You still got Corey Trice back there, Joey Porter Jr.
Eccles can play outside.
Eccles can play that outside position as well. So I'm like, what are we talking about here? Like, that's the only position that was not addressed. Only position that was not addressed, and we've addressed offensive line, we've addressed tight ends, we've addressed running back. I was like, yes, this is it can be D lineman, or you can continue down your path of folly with trying to pick a quarterback, but it's defensive lineman.
Yeah, it has to be defensive linemen, and I would draft 2 of them in this one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
set myself up the next 8 years.
which defensive linemen other than Hayward and Benton are guaranteed spots on this team? Probably none. I mean,
No.
guaranteed. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
no.
some guys we like, and Logan Lee might be good, and we know who Loudermilk is, and
Dean Lowry's a fine
Lowry's
player.
exactly who he is,
Yeah.
fine. And one of those guys is up in age, although he's awesome, but he's up in age.
Yeah.
And the splits with him on and off the field last year were startling. I mean, especially against the run. You're walking a tightrope with Cam, and it's amazing and a credit to him that you're even still able to do it. But if you also look at it this way, too, like I understand they have a lot of cap space, but they don't have much in the way of draft resources. They don't have a number 2. You really only have one more resource to add a big thing. It's your first-round pick. You know, and the third-round pick's not even close to the same. You've got your first-round pick, and maybe if you get creative, you could trade for somebody's contract down the line or whatever. But that first-round pick has to be a D tackle. It has to be.
It has to be, and like you said, you only get one bite at this apple because you're not getting anything in the second round where a lot of volume and quality is going to be moved. You're not in that conversation right now.
I did ask Omar Khan today if he would be interested, knowing that he's got some comp picks coming next year, of trying to get back into that second round this year, whether trading the comp picks next year, whether trading down in the first round this year, trying to make something happen, you know, moving up from that third-round pick to get into that second round. He goes, look, I'm going to be aggressive where we need to be aggressive. Everything's on the table. We can move, you know, up, down, trade future picks.
I mean, they're not static. They're not stuck where they're at
Right,
by any
no.
means. But as it stands right now, they have one massive resource, you know.
Yeah, that's the
It has
only
to be D-line.
Yeah, that's the queen on the chessboard, right? That's the only one you have, and you want to make sure that you make the best out of it. I think at that 21, you're kind of in limbo anyways at that point in the draft because you will have probably fallen in love with 2 or 3 guys that are still available, and depending on how far back you move, you'll know what the reliability is that you'll get at least one of those top 3 guys on your board because you're not putting Travis Hunter at the top of your board. You're not putting Cam Ward at the top of your board. Right. There's a number of
Those
names
aren't
you can just
targets,
go ahead and cross off. Tyler Warren is not going to be there.
Yeah.
Right? You know, Abdul Carter, not that we need him, he's not going to be there.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Matt and I do this every year where we'll come up wherever the Steelers are picking at, and this year it's 21. We'll come up with our list of 21 guys that we feel like the Steelers would be interested in taking at 21 if available. Now, we do include like a Cam Ward, for example, because if he were to fall to 21,
You take him. Of course.
Yeah, you don't bat an eye, but that's one of those.
course,
it's like,
but
know
you're going to
it's
come
not
up with
gonna
21
Yeah.
names, and so therefore then you start looking at, okay, which one of these players is likely to be there?
But why this is a really good exercise is like for this class, last year it was easy. Oh, there's 6 quarterbacks and 6 offensive tackles. I could get to 20 pretty quick.
Yeah.
This year it's like of the top 20 prospects, 5 of them are edge rushers. Do you really want them?
Yeah.
There's a couple tackles you're probably not taking in round 1. Would you even go receiver? I mean, like all of a sudden to get your 21 names, that if the worst 20 players go off the board 1 to 20, which never, ever, 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 ever happens, who's the guy that I would be stuck with at 21? It's very low down the list. I mean, it's not an inspiring name. I mean, trust me, when you do it that way, you usually end up with like your 10th best player on the board at 21.
Almost every time.
On your board, not the
exactly.
consensus board. Nobody cares about that.
No, nobody cares about it.
Right.
And also, you can't get into those previous 20 draft rooms to figure out what
Right,
their board
right.
looks like and what they're valuing. I mean, you have an idea based on their roster about what
Your
they
pro
could
scouting
possibly
staff
value.
has a pretty good idea.
Yeah, they got
you
a
know?
good idea. And listen, all those guys talk. You know what I'm saying? You talk to the other guys, even though the names might not be, but you'll talk to the Browns. You'll talk to the Ravens. You have good relationship with them. Let's forget about the on the field 1 time to 2 times a year that we don't like each other. There's a good communication amongst that group because you see each other all the time. You're communicating.
Well, as Omar said, he's like, look, I'm good friends with John Schneider. That's why that deal with DK Metcalf, he came together pretty quickly because we know each other well.
Yeah. Well, and you have guys that get rovered. I mean, look at the Rams, deal with Stafford and Goff. Like the guy came from the Rams and went to the Lions. Of course, he's like, hey, you don't like your guy, we don't like our guy. Let's Red Rover this. You know what I'm saying? So it happens all the time. So I think people can't get enamored or obsessed with the logo. Because I was like, behind closed doors, all those guys are all friends. They all share.
They're all over here now, and it's not like West Side Story over here.
Yeah, exactly.
We got guys
the
out there.
Montagues and the Capulets aren't over there
ready
walking
to
around
fight.
with daggers. We're all going to hang out at the beach later on tonight. I'm probably going to see the Texans beat writer.
You might see Mike Tomlin talking to John Harbaugh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what this is, and I think people kind of get so clouded or so fan-sided about it. You don't really see that, and that's why these moves happen the way that they do.
I'm glad you're on our side tonight, though. We start rumbling with other media groups.
Definitely. Yeah, no.
The drinks are going to be talking to him. He's going to be challenging people.
Oh, we're going to be taking out other media groups, the other 31 teams.
It's like, hey,
where'd Max go?
Hey, you see the Chargers group over there? We could take them right now, Max.
Knock them out. Yeah. But there is some logic to it as well. Like, the Chargers picking 22. Whoever's picking 22.
Yeah, they're 22.
Yeah, they're 22.
If hypothetically the 22nd team in the draft really needs a center, well, they know the Steelers aren't taking one at 21, even if Webby's on the board.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
exactly.
you know what I mean? Like, I know they're not going to swipe my guy. You know, there's a lot of that.
I'm willing to trade back, but if somebody at 25 is calling me that also wants a center,
right? Different story.
It's like, hey,
now you know why they're calling.
Hey,
right.
L.A., guess what, guys? These guys are 3 picks behind you. I think they want your same guy. What are you willing to do?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because I'd rather you have them than them. That's what
And we can swap one pick and throw me a third, and I'll still get my guy.
It makes me wonder if those teams picking just ahead of the Steelers, Denver, who else was it right in front of them?
Since he's two ahead of them, I think
Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. If those teams aren't going to be getting calls late before the Steelers pick, with teams trying to maybe come up and get a quarterback who think
to get ahead of them for
Dart.
Oh,
they got to get ahead for the Steelers.
Whether the Steelers want them or not.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. I think that's where your biggest moves that happen. I mean, outside of like the top 10, and God knows how often that actually happens. We see the movement sometimes, and even last year, we didn't see as much movement as we thought in day one, and then day two, it was just
crazy.
It was like everything was moving around the board. But I could see that from about 17 to 25, that being the movement zone for the first round of this draft, just because there's going to be pieces, and like you said, teams that might not normally be up there, that are like, hey, we like our quarterback, but we need some other options. He's getting up there in age.
The Rams are a team that come to mind to me.
Yeah.
For
the next guy. Yeah.
We got Matthew Stafford back. We weren't sure he was coming back this year.
Yeah, we even shopped him to see if he was really wanting to come back.
And let's go get the next guy. Because we don't have that on our roster right now, and this is the time to do it. So it wouldn't surprise me to see them move, although they don't have a second-round pick this year to make that happen. They might have draft for some of those edge rushers, because I think those edge rushers in that top.
They're always desirable.
Like the top 8 edge rushers are dudes.
Yeah, and
if there's a run, nothing could be better for the Steelers if there's an edge.
You have an edge rush run. That's all you're hoping for. Just like, hey, stay away from the interior guys.
Yeah, exactly. Take your edge.
Keep thinking about the outside guys. Don't worry about the inside.
You get yours on day 2 because there's a lot of them on day 2.
There's still a lot of them. Yeah.
We'll get our star. Max, you probably don't know the answer to this, and you'd have to get a former GM, in my opinion. I mean, we know they're open for business.
Especially.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
But I wonder, do they ever say, I want this player? Or do they just kind of know? I bet they kind of know.
They already kind of know.
I bet the team that has the earlier pick isn't like, well, who you taking? I'm not telling you who I'm taking.
It's not
is it some of that back and forth?
It's not a Troy Polamalu, Larry Johnson situation where when Kansas City had that pick, Kansas City thought the Steelers were coming up for Larry Johnson because that's who everybody had mocked to the Steelers. They're taking Larry Johnson, and they were coming up to get Troy. And Kansas City wound up taking Larry Johnson in the spot that the Steelers were in. And there was a reason for that, because that's where Larry Johnson was kind of slotted to go in that draft.
But I assume, I don't know what team the Steelers traded up to. Who had
Kansas City.
Oh, Kansas City had the original pick.
Yeah.
When Kevin calls Kansas City and they say, well, you taking Johnson or Polamalu, he's saying, you'll find out. I'm not telling you.
That's exactly what happened.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, I'm calling you because I think we have a mutual interest.
I think it's bad form to actually ask what the –
I assume so, too. But I'd love to get a GM being like, well, if they're tight buds, they're like, You want Polamalu, don't you? Yeah.
Well, I think
Yeah, exactly.
in a situation like that where it's a position player,
Quarterbacks, you always
it's
know.
not a quarter. Everybody knows you're coming up to get a quarterback. You're trading up into the top 5, you're coming to get a quarterback.
Yeah.
You're trading up into the top 10, you're coming to get a quarterback. If you're trading to go to 17, who the hell knows?
Exactly.
When the quarterbacks are gone.
Yeah. At least now, I mean, that's
And you
just
know
the way
what
it is
teams
now.
are after the quarterbacks.
I mean, we
The
talked
Chiefs
about,
are moving up. It's not for a quarterback.
We talked about that last week about how much that has changed in the last 8 drafts. There have been 30 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Wow. Okay.
Almost one per team.
Yeah.
From 2000, what was it? 2000.
It was the 8 years previous, right?
It was like 2002 to 2006 or something like that. That 4-year period, there were 15 quarterbacks taken. Period. Like what? It was. I mean, half.
Yeah.
Over that period.
The number of first-round quarterbacks
Not
has
even
basically
15. It wasn't
doubled
even 15.
over
It
the
was
last
like 8.
decade.
It was like
Yeah.
8 quarterbacks were taken. It was like 2 per year. It just didn't happen all the time. But now, if you're a quarterback, you get pushed into the first round.
Yeah.
Even if you're a third-round talent, and that's where teams get into trouble with this stuff.
Yeah, scarcity, right?
And there were
Scarcity of
6
resource.
last year, which obviously is really strong. And
Yeah.
there are some instances, Lamar was an end of the first round, that if they don't trade up, he wouldn't have counted, and that one hit.
But the Bills moved. The Bills took E.J. Manuel in the first round.
right.
E.J. Manuel was not a first-round draft pick by
No.
anybody.
Right.
Well, and Aaron
But there
fell
were
all the way to
fewer
like
of them.
25, right?
Yep.
When he got drafted, so he sat
Never
there
happens now.
and nobody thought that was going to happen.
But if you look for like a decade, there's usually like 2 or 3 taken. Now there's like 4 or 5.
Yeah, easily, because every team is looking for it, right? And you have perennial teams that just mess it up, that are like, all right, we got to go to the next one. I mean, just look at what.
A lot of it's just money, though. They want the Purdy contract.
Well,
I mean,
and-
even if it's
yeah.
a first-round pick. Like,
Yeah, they believe that the first contract's the window that you got for a
Right.
championship.
Right.
I mean, think about the Cardinals, right? They had Josh Rosen the year before, first round,
Right.
top
We were talking
15
about that
pick,
the other day, yeah.
and then number 1 overall pick. You go and you get Kyler Murray, and you get rid of Josh
The
Rosen.
top 10 pick.
top 10
Yeah,
pick.
yeah,
right.
top
you gave
10,
him
yeah.
1 year. And like, new coach comes in and says, that's not the style I want. Owners said, fine, get rid of him. They actually got a second-round pick in return for Rosen, which is a lot considering driving that car off the lot. It should appreciate even more than that. But
yeah. But
still, that never would have happened 10 years ago or 20 years ago or
No,
whatever. Right.
No, would not have.
No, we just drafted this guy. We're not
Because
doing that
you
again.
had to pay those guys the money.
Yeah, because there
You're
was
paying
a
Sam
guarantee.
Bradford. You're paying Jamarcus Russell. You know.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we got to kick the tires 4, 5, 6 times before we know that this is a dud.
Well, the other thing is, like we talked about the cap, these teams are richer than they used to be.
yeah,
It's all pennies compared to dollars. It's like, yeah, that's a lot of money, but I got more money than I used to, so I don't care. You know?
yeah, more money than I used to, and there's a rookie weight scale.
Yeah,
on
right.
top of it.
I know
So we got-
Kyler's not going to make the Sam Bradford or Jamarcus Russell contract. He's going to make
Yeah.
the number 1 overall contract, you know?
Yeah, exactly, and 5% above what the previous number 1 overall was.
Right.
Yeah,
And next year we'll do the
exactly.
same, right?
Yeah. So it's just because everybody else is running to take second and third round quarterbacks in the first round doesn't mean that the Steelers should then do that as well. And
Exactly.
people can say, well, Kenny Pickett had a third round grade. No, he didn't. Kenny Pickett was graded as a first round guy in that particular draft. He was. I've go back and look. Google it. It's all there.
Yeah, and he was a guy that the Steelers saw his entire time at Pitt every
The familiarity
day.
is important,
You
right?
know what I'm saying?
No question.
They knew what they were
Yeah.
getting because they'd seen it already.
Just because it didn't work out doesn't mean that he
It was a bad decision. Yeah.
Yeah. You take that swing, but you didn't. Again, it was just a pick. You didn't trade up to go get him. You didn't.
He fell in your lap.
You didn't mortgage everything. It fell into your lap, and you took a swing at it. You tried. It didn't work out. You moved on. You hear the stuff. Well, the Steelers had a first-round grade on Mason Rudolph. That's fine. They didn't take him in the first round.
No, I called his name out in the third round.
Did
There
it?
you go.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, if he had a first round grade, yeah, great. But he was there in the third round. I remember walking up on stage, looking at it, calling his name. And then we went back in the third round, got Chukes Okorafor. We
Yeah.
got 2 third-round picks that year.
Once you get past those first 15 players in any draft, and it's usually around 15, the next 70 guys are all going to have similar grades on them.
Exactly.
When you were coming
Scheme
out,
fit and position need and right.
I'm sure there Max, you could go at the end of the first round. You could go in the third round, somewhere in that range.
Yeah, I had a late first round grade. Is it late first round and beyond? That's what I my Blesto report, and I was like, okay. Thought I was going in the first round when I saw Philly trade up.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. Sat, I was the fourth offensive tackle taken at 75.
Again, showing
Which
you
would
how
never
things have
happen
changed.
now.
Which would never happen
Never
today.
happen now.
Yeah, but
It could be
that's the
someone
way it
with a
was.
grade less. If the fourth tackle in this draft was 1 round less a player than you were,
Yeah.
they still would have went ahead of you.
Yeah, absolutely.
No doubt, because it's all about money.
Yeah,
It's all about the cap, and it's all about finances and what you can get and what you can't. You can't get 6'9" dudes like you that can play football.
Yeah, I mean,
They don't exist.
It's a scarcity now. Back in my era, they're like, hey, we had a lot bigger dinosaurs walking around,
Mm-hmm.
and so, but it's like, but we don't have skill guys, right? Because I mean, the one thing that went
I don't
my
think
draft,
they understood the cap as well either.
No,
how
they-
to manipulate it. And
They definitely
absolutely
did.
not. No.
Yeah, because everybody was still standardized. Okay, this is going to be a 4-year with a 5th-year option. You're going to get a 3-year option. You're going to get a 3-year. You're going to get a 2-year.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were just so set up on putting everything on the Excel spreadsheet,
Right.
based off of their redacted data from years before, that they didn't really understand this. Now you parlay it and you move it around so much. Guys are getting very creative now with the cap, and that's why we have to trust what they're doing. That's why Omar was brought in.
Right.
You know
Exactly. That's
and how has he flipped that roster the last 2 years?
and the addition of these comp picks aren't accidents. They happened on purpose.
Yeah.
He couldn't do it in the first year you're there, but when
Yeah.
you see the expiring contracts of the guys, we like Dan Moore. We know he's going to command a lot in the open market. But if we draft tackles that you can't exist, he's going to yield us a pick.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're going to have 2 cheaper tackles that are more talented.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get our value back.
Yeah,
So
right,
we're
right.
never losing value over this prospect.
Right.
Absolutely.
Real quick, you said something about Pickett and the familiarity. I just wanted to throw this out there, too, that as a scout, one of your jobs is how can I tell the decision makers how to best eliminate risk? And the familiarity with Pickett had a lot of that. You know, like there's no doubt they knew more about him than Willis or Ritter or Howe. I mean, how could
Yeah.
you not? I mean, you got good buddies next door that you just go ask, or you see them every day. You know, I mean, like doesn't mean it's a good pick or a bad pick, but it was thought out. You know,
Yeah, it was very.
it didn't work out. It doesn't mean it was a bad pick.
Yeah, and I think also, like you said, when you see a guy every day, you understand the stuff that not everybody else is. Everybody else is looking for this information that you have available to
Right.
you.
You have more information than
When
the
you
next
walk
guy.
off the field, he's walking on the field every single day that there's practice.
Yeah. How many
And
of
if
those
you just
coaches do you eat lunch with and see every day?
You share
and
the
right.
same lunchroom, and then, hey, just happen to take a stroll on the second-story balcony while Pitt's out there at practice. Oh, okay, I see his arm. I see what he goes through. Okay,
Yeah.
I like his workout. You know these things, and so you don't. So when you get to Kenny Pickett, you talk to him. You can be nuanced because, like, I got as much information as I need over the last 3 years about
And
who you
I
are.
did the total
You know where he
opposite thing.
lives in town.
Yeah,
Probably.
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
We passed your house on the way to work. You know what I'm saying? Or your dorm or whatever.
And I did the total opposite with recruits. I'm like, oh, let's go out back. Oh, the Steelers are practicing while we're here.
Yeah. You should just look at
You
that.
guys
Look
wanna
at-
watch,
Look
you
at
know?
Troy's hair. It's flowing. I mean, it's a
Right.
windy day right now. You
Look
can
at,
tell.
look at that young offensive tackle they drafted. He's like 6'9".
The son and his dad from North Allegheny. You think they want to watch Steeler practice?
Oh,
You know, like,
God,
yeah,
yeah.
sure, okay.
Beaver Falls.
Well, I
mean,
forgot they
you
were
got all those
practicing.
guys,
You guys want to hang out here? We can go back in if you want. Oh,
Yeah, you
let's
wanna-
hang here.
You want to watch them film, or you want to watch them play?
Right. You want
You
to go
let
talk
me
about
know.
academic stuff, or you
Yeah,
want to hang out and
exactly.
watch Steeler practice on the sidelines? Yeah, right.
Let's get to a break, guys. He is Matt Williamson. That's Max Starks. I am Dale Lolley. We are here in Palm Beach, Florida, where the league meetings are taking place here at the Breakers. It feels like there's a little storm rolling up here.
Yeah, I felt the wind.
I
I was
thought
like,
I
wait a
heard-
second, it's cool.
Yeah, suddenly things got really cool. It's Florida.
Yeah,
it's
it
just
is.
the way it goes here. But we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more here on The Drive right after this. I am Dale Lolley here with Max Starks and Matt Williamson at the Breakers here in Palm Beach. And, well, if we get knocked off the air here at some point, it's because the National Weather Service has just said that strong thunderstorms are predicted over Royal Palm Beach or near Wellington. This storm is nearly stationary. Hazard wind gusts of 45 to 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The radar indicated gusty winds and trees falling down.
We were
Yeah.
begging for a 2-mile-an-hour wind an hour ago.
Just ask for somebody with an ice cube in their mouth to blow on us. I mean,
Right.
That's how bad it was earlier.
Sounds like things are about to change around these
Yeah,
parts.
things could get a little hairy here. So we'll see what happens, and we'll try to stay on the air here. But in the meantime,
On location can be an adventure, folks.
this is
Right.
the way it is. We're outside here in Florida, and well, we don't do as many outdoor shows in like even at training camp, largely because of this.
Yeah.
We
go in
used
the
to
press
here
box.
and there.
Never know. That's
Yeah,
what-
you just don't know. There were many times when we were at training camp where we're set up and ready to go, and then all of a sudden, hey, we got to get inside.
Yeah.
Because stuff's happening.
Some of those training camp shows were crazy, though. Like, we'd be under a tent, and it's pouring in Latrobe, and our wonderful fans are great, but they just think that tent's for them. And we're, like, on the air with, like, 400 fans on top of us.
Yeah, just right underneath us, like, breathing onto the microphones. Like, hey.
Just pouring right into the electrical socket.
It's like, come on, Hal, just back up just a little bit, man.
Yeah, the one year we were
Jesus.
They had us. We were out by the gate there where all the fans come in, and we're right there when the fans come in, and it starts raining, and they all come flocking to our tent. And we're on the air. People are trying to ask us, hey, is this supposed to last long? And I'm like, we're on the air.
You see how we have a headset on speaking? Right.
Yeah, I wear this for fun. These are earmuffs.
We're not calling in the weather here.
Yeah.
And I can't hear you when these are over both ears when you're out there talking to me, right?
So we'll see what happens with this, but the weather here has been okay. It rained a little bit yesterday, but it wasn't too bad. But it is Florida, and stuff happens.
Your weather down here, Max, is crazy. Things happen quick.
Yeah, they do. Now, normally they don't last too long. When you see the nearly stationary, that's when you start to worry.
Okay. I want to know how it could be nearly stationary with 40 to 50 mile an hour winds.
That is crazy. I mean, we
think those winds would blow it somewhere.
We could go with the atmospheric, empirical calculations, but I'm just going to go with what they said.
It's got to be an ocean thing.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Did this one say nearly stationary?
Yes.
Ah, okay. I kind of stopped paying attention at 40 or 50 mile an hour winds.
Falling trees.
Start putting stuff down. Start looking up top.
Down.
Yeah. The minnow could be lost at
exactly.
this point. We'll see how that goes.
Hopefully this 3-hour tour lasts.
Yeah, it's going to be picking up.
Yeah, I think Nate's the skipper here. That's,
he definitely is.
He has a concerned look on his face, too.
He does. So, guys, I did ask, as I mentioned, Omar Khan about the compensatory picks, and he said that, hey, look, we didn't do this by accident. This was part of the plan here. We knew we had guys signed on 1-year deals, and if we lost them, then we're going to get picks back. And so, again, people to say that the Steelers had no plan. They don't know what they're doing with this stuff. That's not exactly true.
Pushback.
And Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean, like, taking a cut on Wilson and Fields was logical for the other options that were available 1 year ago in order to win in 2024. But he knows that the fans don't. In my back pocket, even if they're not the answers, my investment's going to triple in terms of what I gave up in drafting monetary money or monetary resources for this stuff. And I find it really interesting. I saw a study of how much draft capital every team has used, basically all the way through the 2000s. And if you look at, like, the Ravens and the Steelers, they're basically equal organizations in terms of where they finish. I mean, they're both in the playoffs a lot. They're both good. They've gone far. They don't pick top 5. We can say that they're pretty comparable organizations. But over that stretch, the Ravens have had a lot more draft capital than the Steelers, which isn't the Steelers' fault. It's the Ravens being great at the comp game.
Yeah.
Now, if you're one of those teams that are great at the comp game, and I get an extra 3rd or 4th pick every year, no one's great at drafting. That's the misnomer. Some teams are better than others at drafting. Dale might hit 55%, and I hit 48%. So he's a better drafter than me. But it's not 70 versus 20.
I'm glad you finally admitted that.
You know what I mean? But if he has 20 picks and I have 10, his team's going to be 1,000 times better than me if he's a better drafter.
Well, and it's the
or
thing,
if I have 20 and he has 10, mine will be better even if I'm a worse drafter.
For years, the Steelers really didn't work a lot in the free agent pool.
Right.
They were a draft
now all these 1-year
first.
deals.
But now when you sign these guys, these outside guys, to 1-year deals or a 2-year deal, and you're willing to allow them to walk, or you trade for a guy and you allow them to walk, and they sign a new deal, that factors into your comp game, and that's what the Ravens have done over the years.
Extremely well. They were ahead of the curve. I'm not saying the Steelers were behind. The Ravens were ahead. The Niners have been ahead. Right now, the Steelers and Niners are set up for tons of comp picks next year.
Yeah.
And, the Niners lost guys, but they were all dudes like Najee and Moore that you knew were coming, that you're going to get something in return. It's absolute gold. I mean, again, the worst drafters, if you give them 10 picks compared to the best drafters that have 5, the worst drafters will probably be better off.
Yeah, because they got more bites at the apple, right?
More bites at the apple, right. I'll take 2 safeties. I need one of them to hit.
It's one of the amazing things that I always find it funny after the draft. The teams that get graded well for drafting, they had a great draft. Well, they had
4 first-round picks.
They had 2 first-round picks, or they had 3 first-round picks. I would certainly hope that
you better
they
be better at it.
nailed
right?
the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you got Wilson and Sauce Gardner in the same draft. Gee, that's a pretty good draft.
Picks,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You picked that? Oh, hey,
shocking.
Good for you. Shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah. You could.
My daughter could have picked those 2 guys.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Meanwhile, you look at Kevin Colbert's career, and his average first-round pick that he earned, not where he selected for like Troy
was
or Bush,
24th.
is 24th. I mean, there's a lot of 30s in there. There's a lot of 28s, 29s. There's not many 4s, 2s.
There's no 4s and 2s.
That means no Jonathan Ogdens, no Basellis, like the no-brainer offensive tackles. You have no chance at.
Yeah,
none.
and Mike Tomlin said it best, right? When he walked up to Chase Young when they were playing in Washington one year, he's like, "Hey, man," he's like, "You're a good player. I never want to be bad enough to draft you."
Right,
you know
right.
what I'm saying? Yeah,
that's the goal, right?
That's
reality.
the goal. Yeah, that's reality.
Right.
The more impressive thing is that you did get the Cam Haywards, you did get the T.J. Watts, you did get Ben Roethlisberger, you got Troy Polamalu. These are Hall of Fame players.
You found that talent
that you found at the end of the first round or in the middle of the first round.
Yeah. No respect to Myles Garrett, but my sister could have drafted Myles Garrett. I mean, my daughter could draft LeBron, or
exactly.
That's
those
not
are
hard.
No-brainers.
Luck or right. Those guys are easy. The other thing that Dale and I talk about a ton, it's not an accident that they're probably going to add Aaron Rodgers, Slay, even Metcalf. None of those guys were UFAs, so they don't count against your comp game. Slay was cut, Rodgers was cut. They're much more attractive than the other corner that's just a true UFA, because now I'm getting an extra pick.
If you sign him let's say they sign, pick a cornerback that
Murphy or whoever, or
to
Debo or whatever.
A 4-year, $80 million deal. Well, that cancels out the third-round pick you're going to get for Dan Moore.
Right. It's just a wash.
So now you've just lost that third-round pick. You get the player, which is nice, but is he that much better than 1 year of Darius Slay? That's what you got to ask yourself.
And the beauty is if you can continue to add comp picks every year. Like next year, there's going to be a ton coming. Can the year after, can they consistently have a trickle in or a wave? And the beauty is, if you draft well, you never let your good guys hit free agency, and you just kind of dump the spare change knowing that I'll draft behind him. I'm not picking on Najee, but he wasn't a great fit in his own scheme.
Yeah, not
so
in
they
this
probably
game.
knew.
Not to say he's not a great back.
It doesn't matter. Yeah,
He
for
just
us,
doesn't fit this
he's
game,
not.
yeah.
So they probably knew a year ago that he'll yield us a comp pick. We'll find a better one in this draft. It's just forward planning, and people don't think this team plans things out, aren't paying attention.
Well, and think about the tampering period, right? I mean, tampering period now gives you a bigger glimpse into that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like you said, you look at San Francisco, they let go 12 veterans, right? Mm-hmm. 10 were signed before we even got to free agency.
Yeah.
Steelers, same thing. Not a lot of guys on the streets.
No,
Not a lot of guys on the streets that we let go. Those are all going to be there, and the teams that release
you
like
knew
one
they
or
were
two,
desirable.
3 guys,
yep,
that are still sitting there. It's like you aren't good at the comp game. We can see that. What's your acquisitions? Because we do this spreadsheet. It shows key additions, key losses. If your key losses are greater than your key additions, you're going to get comp picks, not the other way around.
Yep.
It's pretty
and
simple.
If your key additions weren't UFAs, you're definitely going to get comp picks.
Yeah.
If they were cut dudes, right, they don't count.
They don't count.
Or if you sign them after the draft. I mean, there's a lot of dudes sitting out there now that are good football players.
They're going to play football somewhere this year.
But if you sign them after the draft, they don't count anymore. Go grab J.K. Dobbins or whoever you want. Someone that's a good football player,
Yeah, it's all part of the game here, and I think
there's loopholes.
Yeah, there's and everybody wants to play the loopholes, and
tush pushes. There's
tush
pushes
right.
all over the place.
The Steelers are tush
if you're great at it, you get a first down every time.
Tush push drafters.
And it's not because the draft is in Pittsburgh next year. That has nothing to do with this. This is just how it happened to align, because this is basically year 3 for Omar and this group.
And he's had a chance, and like I said,
he can really put his stamp on the whole plan now.
And he's churned this roster actively for the last 2 years.
Well, that's the other thing that gets. So again, I tweeted out all my stuff today and all the quotes and stuff. Steelers haven't made any changes. What are you talking about? They haven't made any changes.
You're out of mind, yeah.
That's ridiculous. There's been 100 new faces over the last 2 years that have been in training camp.
Yep. I mean,
That's
the scouting department's almost new.
No, that's
Right.
an absurd number of guys.
Yep.
The coaching staff has been almost completely turned over in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
You went out and you traded for DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to consider that a free agency move, but realistically, that was a free agent move.
Yeah.
Well, they weren't making that trade 20 years ago either.
No.
I mean, the Minka trade was a big deal. I mean, how often were they trading for Pro Bowl players over our lifetime? Not very often.
It just doesn't happen.
Right.
It doesn't happen, period, because usually those guys don't get traded.
So, to me, this is even the best example, is from the day after they drafted David DeCastro in the first round, there was a 10-year stretch from what I remember where they drafted a total of like 4 offensive linemen. None of which in the first 2 rounds. Some of them were 5th-rounders. I mean, there's Chooks in there. There's Moore in there. And the other part of it, you had Munchak, who could take a free agent and turn him into Villanueva or Foster, too. So you had some magic there.
Turn him into a starter. Yeah,
but it's really bad economically to go 10 years with only drafting 2 or 3 linemen because there's such a shortage. Well, Omar comes in here and he's drafted 5 in 2 years, 2 in the first round, 1 in the second.
Yeah.
That's just economics. I mean, the game has changed since then. I'm not condemning the old way of doing things. They were very successful. But there's no way you can go that long without putting draft resources into O-line because it's the hardest thing to find. It's not a quarterback.
Yeah.
And if Dan Moore hits free agency, he gets $20 million and you get a 3rd-round pick back. So you get more than you even put into him.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
Exactly. And you're not footing that bill.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And now you get to go find a new young lineman that can come give you at least 4 or 5 years, and then he'll do the same.
My favorite one of that was they drafted Kelvin Beachum. He was almost the last pick in the draft. There were like 2 guys taken after him.
Yeah.
And you were able to turn him into James Conner.
Yep.
So
sounds like the storm's coming here pretty hot and heavy. They might want us to.
Okay, well, before we get out of here, I did want to play back what Omar Khan had to say today. So let's do that to close out the show. We're going to get to a break right now. When we come back, we'll hear what Omar Khan had to say to the assembled media here earlier today. Right after this, he is Max Starks. I'm Dale Lolley. That is Matt Williamson. You're listening to the special edition of The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is Matt Williamson. Max Starks just stepped away here, but we're going to. I did want to play back Omar Khan today, the Steelers GM, over at the media table here. A lot of questions there for Omar regarding this particular team, about the quarterback, all that kind of stuff. So let's hear what Omar had to say.
I know you guys will ask about the QB position. I'll just say that we always go to training camp with 4 quarterbacks, and we have 2 under contract right now. So all options are on the table through free agency, trade or draft, obviously. So all options are on the table, but happy to take any questions.
Omar, even if things don't work out with that one guy you're pursuing that you're not allowed to talk about, you still feel you have to bring in a veteran quarterback regardless?
I'd say that's a safe assumption.
Omar, there was a report today that DK was throwing with Aaron. Can you read anything into that?
I wasn't there, but that's good if that did happen. I'd say that.
From your perspective, that visit that happened a week and a half ago, what was your takeaway from having Rodgers in the building and having conversations?
It was positive. I thought it was important for us to get to know him and for him to get to know us, and I'm glad we were part of it.
Mike said there's not necessarily a deadline for Aaron Rodgers to make a decision, but when you look at this, are you expecting the decision in days, weeks, months? Like, what kind of time frame are you anticipating?
I learned a long time ago that when it comes to free agency, things just kind of happen when they happen. I learned that a long time ago, and we'll see where it goes.
Anything you could say about the offer, be it 1 year, 2 years?
No, we don't discuss contract negotiations.
Omar, you don't have a second-round draft pick now after the DK trade. Do you want to try to get back into that situation? I know you've gathered or potentially gathered some comp picks next year. Would that be a possibility to maybe move some of those to get back into the second round this year? Or
I would say I think you guys got to know me over the last couple of years. I think all options are on the table. Staying put, moving out, moving back. I'm open to anything. So if it makes sense for us.
Looking at the
the process of the comp pick formula and everything like that, looking like you're projected to get at the maximum before as it stands right now, is that intentional, what you guys are doing, that pursuing guys that when you sign guys, they don't play into that formula? Is that intentional so you can load it next week?
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, say that it's for next year. What I'll say is that, we were in a position this year we kind of understood where our contracts were with our free agents, and that there a possibility does exist, a good possibility does exist for us to acquire comp picks, and so that's always been a part of the process this year. And I mean, you guys are intelligent people. You guys can kind of read through it and see it. But the fact that we've had the opportunity to acquire picks, I don't know exactly how it's going to shake out yet. But that's obviously been something we've taken into consideration.
You're taking great liberties there, referring to us as intelligent. You guys usually like to use free agency to either supplement the draft, or possibly even eliminate what you have to do with the draft. You didn't get a defensive line. Does that increase the likelihood or the possibility, the urgency to get one in the draft?
We have a. I like the group we still have. We did sign Kuali. He's done some really good things. Logan Lee is healthy. He has a chance to step up and be a part of it. But I felt good about some of the guys we had on the line. But Jerry, as I always say, is if there's an opportunity to improve any position group, we're going to look at it.
Is there a desired big picture defensive line to eventually give that the same kind of?
Say that again?
Is there a desire, big picture with defensive line to eventually give it the same kind of attention you gave offensive line over the last 2 years, especially with Cam getting older?
Was Cam getting older? Yeah. I'd say, the trenches are important. I've always talked about those big guys on both sides of the ball, so, we understand where we're at.
The trade of DK, does that change any big picture thing with George or your thoughts on him in the future?
No, you need more than one receiver in this league, and we're fortunate we have George and Calvin, and excited about what Roman's going to be able to do for us. So,
Any spot in free agency you wanted to get done yet, if you haven't?
It's a good question. I think when you go into free agency, you set out a plan, and hopefully things work out, and you adjust, and but I don't think anybody will tell you that they feel like they can address everything in one free agency round.
When you look at Jalen, do you view him as a starter-capable player, and how do you view him in the long term?
I do view him as a starter-capable. I mean, he's played a lot of football for us, so obviously we have a lot of confidence, and he has a big opportunity this year, and we'll see how it goes.
When we talked with you a month ago at the Combine, you said it was your preference to re-sign either Justin or Russ. Mm-hmm. Obviously, neither one of them ended up under contract. Are you at all surprised in the way that things worked out? It's free agency. I think we understand it. When you go into free agency, players have the opportunity to look at other things. We have the opportunity to look at other things, and things just sort of happen.
With Justin, did it come down to better opportunity for him? Was it his decision, or was there a price tag determination?
Well, so he was free, so you guys will have to ask Justin. But I will say, man, Justin, class act, and I can't say enough good things about him. He was great to have around.
Was your offer competitive with what the Jets offered?
We won't get. I'm not going to get into contract stuff, but he decided to go to the Jets.
What point did you kind of realize that he was going to end up testing the market? Because I know when you expressed preference, it was to have it done before the league year started.
Yeah, I don't know if there was an exact moment where we felt that way, but again, when the players are free agent, you kind of understand that that's how it's going to go, and it's not just him, but all these guys. If they don't feel good about something, they'll take it to free agency and just see where it goes.
You mentioned the possibility of a trade at the quarterback position. Is that something you can kind of plan for, think about, or do you just kind of have to be in a position like I don't think anybody was talking about Geno Smith getting traded and then all of a sudden he gets traded? You just kind of have to work in the moment with that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think by this time, you're asking as we are right here, we kind of have a feel for what's out there and what other teams are thinking, and conversations happen here, they happen on the phone, and start at the Combine usually, and so we have an idea of what's out there at this point. That's just not quarterback position. That's all.
You said at the Combine you guys need to add playmakers on offense. Then a couple weeks later, you get DK. Was he always in the mind, or did that come quite quickly?
It's a good question. Let's think back here. What's your definition of come quickly?
Less than a week.
I'd say that it was probably. I think that's probably accurate. It was probably just a little less than a week.
What did he bring?
Size. He did a press conference here, right? Yeah, he did it. Yeah, I mean, you saw him. He's a playmaker. Really enjoying getting to know him. I think you guys will too. He has a desire to win and be great, and I love that about him. And just excited what he's going to bring to the club.
His free agency approach, was Mason always in the back of your mind as the guy that you wanted to have as an option?
I'd say, when Mason signed a one-year deal last year, obviously he would be available to anyone. But we had a relationship with him, and felt really good about Mason when he was here. And last year, different things happened, and he ended up signing in Tennessee, obviously, and we needed the position, as you guys know, and he was available and had an interest in coming back. And our experience with Mason's been relatively positive, so it made sense.
Comfortable with him if he's your starter?
I have a lot of confidence in Mason.
Do you feel like at all, in the timing of when you acquired DK, was there any anxiety or nerves that you're acquiring a big-time playmaker of his caliber before you have the quarterback situation worked out? Did you almost maybe go out of order at all, or is that a consideration?
That's a good question. I'll just say, when you have the opportunity to, obtain a player of that caliber, at least the way we see DK, I don't think you can, you wait around at those opportunities. You have to jump at them, and it worked out. And, he wanted to be here when we wanted him here, and we weren't going to let that opportunity go.
Did he express any apprehension about not knowing who might be throwing him the football?
We had a lot of conversations about, he had conversations with the coaches and myself about the roster and the team, and, we had some candid conversations, and he knew, what our plans were, and, still all coming together.
When we talked to Mike Tomlin, he said there wasn't necessarily a deadline, but he did call training camp a line of demarcation. Are you comfortable letting it play out to that point with Aaron Rodgers?
Like I said when I got here, we have 2 under contract. We need at least 2 more, so all options are on the table right now.
Omar, DK, one more thing. The process, did he come available and you go to Mike and Art Rooney and say, hey, you'll never guess who might be available? How did that process work out?
Amongst the GMs, we have conversations, and I know John Schneider very well, and we touched base. I can't remember who called who first, and the kind of conversations just kind of took on a life of its own from there.
Guys, 2 more so we can get in.
You got a $40 million edge rusher in the NFL now. Is that where you saw that market going, and what do you make of that?
You're talking about the
Garrett's at the top of the edge rusher.
I mean, it's I don't expect salaries to go down, so I expect them to keep increasing year to year. I'm sure that's like in your industry too, right?
Do you see you being willing to play in that market at that price?
I'll just, I'm not going to get the contract numbers, but if you're referring to TJ, I assume, I'll just say that I'm very hopeful that TJ will finish his career as a Steeler.
One more. After a couple of years of having a couple of just one-year situations at quarterback, are you confident in, whether it's this year or in the draft next year, are you confident in the long-term plan that you're building to address a long-term plan at quarterback?
It's not an easy. It's not ideal. I'll put it that way. We having to we addressed it last year. We're addressing it this year. At some point, there has to be we have to find the long-term solution, I'll say. So, and that might happen this year, could happen next year. But, in the meantime, we're going to keep doing whatever we can to win a championship this year.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
And that was Steelers General Manager Omar Khan with the assembled Pittsburgh media earlier today. And a lot of interesting stuff there. And
a lot of interesting stuff going on around here, too.
Around here as well. And I know we were supposed to be on for 3 hours today, but there is a storm that is threatening us here.
And we're outside. Yeah.
Lightning and thunder, and did I mention lightning?
Yeah.
If the late Craig Wolfley was here, he would already be
running
he'd
inside. Be in the car, yeah.
The Wolfley family, for those that don't know, I think Wolf had like 3 family members struck by lightning over the years. He was deathly afraid
spiders
of
and lightning for a big, strong, strapping fella. I always made the joke he's just a big target.
I can remember us doing a show at OTAs.
That's why Max took off.
OTAs one year, and it started thundering, and I see Wolf going, uh-oh. Wolf, what's wrong? Well, there's thunder. I'm like, okay, yeah, but we're back under the awning here. I don't do thunder. I don't do lightning. Okay, so we moved it back inside. But, yeah, it's been we'll be back again tomorrow. Hopefully we're able to get a 3-hour show in tomorrow. Again, weather it's not supposed to rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Apologize to everybody about the show getting cut short today. I know we promised 3 hours, but we can't control Mother Nature. That's just the way it is. But for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Max Starks, making sure that everybody gets all the info here as well. For Justin Miller back in the studio, making sure the show sounds all right on the air. I'm Dale Lolley. We thank you for listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.